Wes.
Oh boy, I'm scared.
But Wes, why would I use this when you forget? I'll talk to you from 500 yards from your house.
Welcome to the OT, baby. I love it. Alan's like, oh, you think this is a knife? This is a knife. And
That's like, not a knife. This is a knife.
Yeah. Alan's like, I'll just blow your head off from 5 football fields away.
That's probably not a bad idea. I'm a little fella. I'm only 6'4", 375. So
you're a perfect target.
I've had them bigger.
So welcome back. We're in the OT. We're going to take some quality time with our friend Alan Bariste today. In 5 minutes just is clearly not enough. So one question I didn't get to, have you ever used a flamethrower?
No. Never used a flamethrower.
No.
Oh, now he's going to do the no questions.
I'll do the yes to no.
Yeah, that's what I thought he was doing. Another question I had for you I was going to ask, because it always intrigues me a little bit with a guy like you or Brian Monahan as an example. When you read a lot, obviously, but when you started to write your first book, was there a moment when you're like, I'm going to write a book? What does that look like in your head?
The first book, and I had the idea, and then I bounced it off of a buddy, and who was a published author, and he's like, I like the idea, Mark McYoung, and he's like, do it. And so I played around with it while I was living in Japan, and had the ideas rolling. When I came back from Japan, I sat down at a friend's house because I was staying with him for a little bit, and he went to work. I got on the computer, and in about a month, I wrote that first book. Then I moved to California, where Mark was living, to do security work and bodyguard work with exotic dancers, and he helped me edit and firm up the book and got it published.
Do you always use
it got firmed up?
Yeah, I was going to say, do you always use the word firmed up after you talk about exotic dancers? That was a question. Hey, I have a quick question regarding what's the furthest target you've ever hit? That's the first part of the question. And the second part of the question is, a red or a green optic dot better?
Cool. The furthest target would be 1,000 meters. In sniper school, we had 300, 400, 500, and 600 meter targets that you had to shoot to qualify and pass the school. Then we had 800 meter and 1,000 meter targets that you could practice on. And with the M21 system that I was first using, at the 1,000 meters, you weren't always getting a first round hit. I mean, you would shoot in your spotter. So it's usually second, sometimes third or fourth before you're getting consecutive hits on the thousands. Usually 300, 400, 500, and 600 meters, you could get first round hits.
That's crazy. So what about the optic dot? What's your preference?
I don't have a preference on either of those because I'm old school and just like the crosshairs without color in the dots.
How often in movies do you see stuff with handguns or rifles or you're like, that's stupid?
Quite a bit, but I try to ignore it. Some people, that ruins the movie for them and they get all right. I just it's Hollywood, let it go, enjoy the movie for what it is, and I don't really try to critique everything because there's an awful lot of them that you could, obviously.
Yeah. Are you a guy still, I'm guessing you own some firearms at your house. I mean, are you a guy that goes to the range right now, or are you just out in the backyard in Missoula and start firing?
I do own firearms. I don't shoot as much as I used to just because of time and family and money. Ammo gets expensive and, so I try to get out once in a while. I have taken my wife out and my daughter out to make sure that they're familiar with firearms and know safety and that they've experienced them and shot them as well. Not some of the big calibers, that's too big for them, but they've shot some of my smaller caliber weapons.
Hey, Alan, can you build us your perfect burger?
I was going to ask you what's the top 3 burgers, but you got build your perfect burger. What is that?
It's hard to say what the top ones are because I like all burgers. I guess a really good rare patty, very big, cooked rare, I don't like them overdone with, heaping piles of bacon on there. And then it just depends on the mood I'm in. Like the other day, I just had bacon, onions, and grilled onions and regular onions and grilled mushrooms and steak sauce. But the other times I want the tomatoes and the ketchup and the lettuce and the pickles and mustard. So I don't think there's a perfect one. I guess the perfect one would be having a different burger for breakfast, lunch, and
what they say, the perfect burger is the next burger.
Yeah.
Now you ate at Whataburger last week, I think, in Texas, and they have they have crinkle cut fries, right? Which
I had the kind that I had regular, so I don't know.
Okay.
Fries they had, but the fries I had were regular fries at Whataburger last week.
Yeah. So Reflex Protect, let's talk about that a little more. Where do you see this going? Is that a segment of the world that's going to continue to grow? Is it slow growth? Is it steady growth? Moderate? What is it? What does it look like?
I think as it catches on, it's going to be faster growth, especially in law enforcement, because it's a better tool. I see it replacing pepper spray. And that departments right now are replacing their pepper spray with Reflex Protect because it doesn't have the cross-contamination. So an officer can put a bad guy down, all the other officers are fine, but then they can decon him, clean him up, stop the pain, so it's a humane way to stop him. Where pepper spray, he's in pain for an hour, we can reverse that within minutes once he's controlled and restrained, and then escort him to jail, hospital, mental health center, wherever he needs to go because he was being violent.
Now, I know the answer is pepper spray, but who's your competitor in the newer non-cross contaminant type?
Not Wes. We know that.
We don't really, there's not another spray that competes with us other than pepper spray, but you also have less lethal. You have taser. That would be a competitor. There's some other less lethal tools being marketed to law enforcement and civilian. So that's our competitors, is any less lethal tool. And less lethal is also sometimes called non-lethal. Less lethal is more the law enforcement term for it. But those are our competitors. And I think this is one of the best ones out there. And that's why I joined the company and never joined up or endorsed any others before.
Good for you.
What's the cost of, is it a can of Reflex Protect? What's the cost of a can of that versus a can of pepper spray? Are they the same? Or are they
very comparable? I mean, the 1.9 one that most people would carry, $19.95. And police are buying it. They're buying it for their departments. They're getting a little cheaper because they're buying in bulk and such. So it's comparable with a lot of the pepper sprays that are out there.
Is that something that you can get
for future, which will be even a little cheaper? The little keychain type ones as well.
Yeah.
Can you get that non-commercial as well, Al?
As what do you mean?
Like, could my daughter carry a can of that to college or high school?
Yeah, the only restrictions right now are some states have a size limitation, and that's pepper spray and our product. And the smaller one that we develop will be in all states. Right now, there are a few states that can't use the 1.9. But you can buy it on Amazon. You can buy it on our website, reflexprotect.com. For your listeners, if you go to our website, type in my first name, ALAIN, you'll get a little discount off the price at reflexprotect.com. And that's anybody can buy those the big can or the small can for personal or home use.
Does it come with the antidote?
You have to buy that separate. Okay, so that's a separate thing. You can buy bottles of that. And a lot of places they might buy a bunch, like the hospital might buy a ton of the cans for the hospital workers, put them all around the hospital, and then they'll have a small amount of the decon for if they use it, they'll have it available. You don't have to have a one-for-one. But at your home, it's probably good to have one of each.
So I know we met post-COVID. Pre-COVID, how much did you travel for training? And I know that's ground to a halt. You just did one last week. But obviously, COVID's affected your life and probably your income, I'm guessing. What did that look like post-COVID or pre-COVID? And what do you think that's going to look like moving forward?
Yeah, pre-COVID, last year, 2019, I was flying all over the place, getting elite status on Delta and other miles on different airlines. then COVID hit, I flew a couple times early this year, and then boom, this started, and I've only trained a couple places. One I drove to 500 miles away, and last week I flew to Texas. A couple weeks I do have another training coming up in November, so they're starting to come around, but nothing like last year. But I'm optimistic that it's going to start coming. And we did put together some online training. So we've actually helped some places with an online course that we filmed and put online for when I couldn't be there in person.
Great. What's your next book about?
My next book is going to be about Mr. Miyagi from the Karate Kid. I've wanted to do that for a while. Wax on, wax off will be the title. And with the resurgence of the Karate Kid because of the Cobra Kai television series, it was bought by Netflix now, and the third season will come out next year on Netflix. I think the timing is right, and it's just a sort of a project I've wanted to do, and I think it's time that I really do it.
Can you give us some insight as to Pat Miata?
Yeah, Pat Murata.
Miata?
Morita. Yeah.
Morita. There we go.
I really can't, he was Arnold on Happy Days was when I first remember him.
Yeah.
And, he starred with Jean-Claude Van Damme and some other places. You see him in a lot of different things, but his most iconic role that he was nominated for an Academy Award was Karate Kid. And I just thought he played that role perfectly as the, wise, martial art mentor to both Hilary Swank in the next Karate Kid and Ralph Macchio in the first three movies. There were just a lot of pearls of wisdom through that character that I think, could resonate with people today just as well as it did back in the 80s and early 90s.
That's great. Cool.
You do any push-ups on your knuckles today?
Not on my knuckles.
Walk on any glass or shards of glass or hot coals or anything like that? Or
I only do those on the weekends.
Throw anybody through a window or give them one of these?
Saving that one for you, Wes.
Bring it on, big man. Bring it on.
Rumor has it you swim with alligators. You just you're a man's man. I envision you drinking a beer and just crack it, and like an old school can. That's not like this aluminum, just like those old school really hard, smashing them on your head and just give me another one. So that's good. It's good. You think of you like that.
Have you ever jumped out of a helicopter with a knife in your mouth?
I've jumped out of a helicopter, but the knife was in the sheath, not in my mouth.
All right, so yeah, I'm not impressed.
The helicopter was 1,500 meters above the ground when I jumped out too, though.
All right.
He was firing a weapon, Wes. So so zip it. Well, I guess we'll wrap up the OT today with Alan. Alan, how can people get a hold of you and talk to you about Reflex Protect or talk to you about training?
Yeah, pretty easy to find because I'm the only Alan Baris around. So you spell my name, you're going to find me out there. But best places to go at reflexprotect.com or surviveashooting.com if you're interested in active shooter. If you're interested in safety, and I know you're not supposed to give multiple, but I am. If you're interested in safety, surviveanddefend.com. All those places and all over social media, you can find me as well.
Cool. Thank you for being on today. Yeah, go ahead.
So much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Really appreciate it.
Awesome. Thanks.
See you next week.